Everything good?
You know, what's wrong? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell us where it is. Come out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
That'll wake
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Andy has invocation.
All right, this is an Irish thing. May you all have the happiness and luck that life can hold. May you find a pot of gold at the end of all your rainbows. May the roof over your head always be strong. May you be in heaven a half hour before the devil knows you're dead.
Amen. Thank you, Andy. While everybody's standing, we'll do the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? You may be seated. Susie has an announcement.
And I'll adjust the camera while I'm here. Just a reminder, our food security summit is going to be next Thursday, March 27th from 10 to 3. Thank you for those that have signed up to help with that. We're hoping all Rotarians will be able to help with that event. And then also just a reminder, you've probably gotten some emails. The district conference is April 12th. In Ankeny, and it's from 10 until 9. And if you're going to go, just make sure, I believe that hotel reservations are limited, so now's the time. And don't call the actual hotel that's there, but the actual direct hotel line. That was our advice today from our board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Are there any other announcements from the floor? Seeing none, I'll turn things over to Dennis for fellowship.
Thank you. Now, I'm not even going to attempt the idea of singing happy birthday with an Irish accent, but since today is Mary Swanson's birthday, if you could pull that off and lead us in singing happy birthday with a good Irish accent, let's go for it, okay?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday to you.
Sorry. Right.
Nice job.
All right, we have three guests here today. Wayne and Norm, you want to introduce him?
Yeah, this is your district assistant governor for 25-26. Wayne is a member of the Iowa City AM Club and works in Iowa City, lives sort of in the West Liberty area, but he'll do a great job representing.
Look forward to working with you.
Ray has a guest that is somewhat familiar with this this establishment.
Yeah, I brought as my guest today Mike Rispilli's son, all the way from Los Angeles, California. So he's been with me for 2.5 weeks. He's now, I never had one, a staff consultant for the Victory Center. And he's already made quite an impact with me. Paul Strauss.
And Julie Dunn has introduction of our guests. And she's our speaker, so we'll do that when we get there. Okay. All right. So the point of the trivia time here is to raise money for scholarships. So if you get something wrong, if you get it right, that'll be $3. You get it wrong, that'll be $5. Okay. We'll start back there in the back with Andrew and everybody back there at that table. Technology is amazing. In 2016 was the first time ever that a fully autonomous truck completed a commercial delivery. 2016, no human driving this truck, completely a commercial delivery in 2016. What was in, Jennifer is nodding her head. What was inside what was the load inside the first ever autonomous truck commercial delivery?
Cerveza.
Here.
50,000 cans of beer. Wow.
We had this question a couple weeks
Karen Vickers, your table. During the time that he was the leader or the dictator in charge of Cuba, how many assassination attempts were there on Fidel Castro? No, back table. Not you, Ray. Over 600 attempts on Fidel Castro's life when he was the dictator down there. Okay, Ray and Doug. Who is the only president of the United States to have owned a patent, who invented something, and the only president to have ever had a patent?
He's go ahead, Doug says.
Abraham Lincoln. Do you have any idea what it was? He patented a method of lifting boats up, over, and down. Okay, Andy Green. Is there anybody else in the room other than Andy and I that are Eagle Scouts? Okay, Andy. At one point, a 16-year-old boy Boy Scout got lost inside Yellowstone National Park.
I know where you're going with this. It was Harrison Ford.
And he's right. Harrison. So the boy was out and had been lost for over a day inside Yellowstone Park, and they had a search committee out trying to find this boy inside Yellowstone. And he realized it was bright and sunny out, and he had a belt buckle on, and he realized that if he, there's an airplane flying overhead, and he shined the belt buckle enough that the pilot of the airplane looked out and saw what? And the guy flying that airplane was the actor Harrison Ford.
So the rest of that story is they interviewed the kid and they said, how does it feel to have been rescued by Indiana Jones? And the kid said, I was rescued by Han Solo.
All right, front table here. John. Pope Gregory IX declared war on a certain animal because Pope Gregory IX said that this particular animal has the spirit of Satan. What animal did Pope Gregory IX declare war on? Julie is correct. Pope Gregor the IX declared war on cats and said they had the very spirit of the devil. Think about that the next time you see a cat. Thank you.
You can tell Dennis is a little taller than I am by the way the microphone is above my head. We'll invite Julie up to introduce today's speaker.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are very honored to have with us today Carolyn Weets. Carolyn is an addiction prevention specialist with the Clinton Substance Abuse Council, bringing over 30 years of healthcare experience to her role. She currently facilitates an Iowa Health and Human Services grant, which focuses on preventing prescription drug misuse through education, awareness, and community collaboration. She is originally from Comanche and has lived in the area her entire life, now residing in Sebula. She is committed to fostering community connections and promoting prevention efforts that create lasting positive change. So with that, Carolyn is here to present the link between prescription drug misuse and illicit drug misuse and what it means for Clinton County. So with that, Carolyn.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today. Let's see if we can get this thing loaded up. But in the meantime, again, I'm Carolyn. I work for Clinton Substance Abuse Council. Now, some of you may have heard of us, and others may have heard of Area Substance Abuse Council. It's very easy to get us kind of confused, but ASAC, Area Substance Abuse Council, they work with, they do a lot of treatment, and they also work in prevention. Our office, Clinton Substance Abuse Council, is just focused on prevention. So, having said that, I have a grant that lets me come and speak to all of you about what you can do about the drug crisis in our community. Okay, we have, as most of you know, we have a lot of methamphetamine use. Heroin use is down, but we still are seeing quite a bit. A lot of prescription drug misuse. So I wanted to kind of speak with you today. Many of you know already the relationship between prescription drugs and illicit drug use, but we're going to kind of go through a few slides. I like to operate so that if you have a question, don't hold on to it because you'll forget it if you're like me. So if you have a question while I'm speaking, just raise your hand, and I'm going to grab my water here because I know I'm going to get thirsty. Just raise your hand. I don't mind being interrupted one bit. All right. So why are we focusing on prescription drugs? It's because many of those in active addiction and those in recovery report to us that their addiction started with misusing prescription drugs. So let's just quickly define what misuse is. Misuse is when you're taking a medication in any way other than how it was prescribed. So if you get a pain medication and it says to take it every 6 hours, but you're really in a lot of pain at 4 and you take it at every 4 hours, there's a reason that they say every 6 hours, right? This is through all the studies and everything that they've done to bring this prescription drug to market. They have included the ways that people become addicted, right? So if you are taking that medication more often than it's prescribed, that's considered misuse. If you're sharing with someone else, that's considered misuse. If you're taking it more often, maybe if this was only for a toothache that you had, and 3 months down the line, you didn't get rid of it, and now you have a really bad headache, so you've decided to take it. So all of those things are kind of setting people up for some addiction issues or some misuse issues, if nothing else. So what are the most common prescription drugs? Did somebody have a question? I heard something. The most common prescription drugs that are misused are opioids, which are pain medications, stimulants used usually to treat ADHD, but also for weight loss and narcolepsy, you know, people that just fall asleep suddenly, and benzodiazepines, so also called benzos, so medication that is used for panic attacks, anxiety, things like that. So what are opioids? We're talking about, most of us have had an opioid, by the way. If we've had any kind of surgery, right, we're going to either have like maybe a Dilaudid or an oxycodone or something like that. And you'll see up there also included is fentanyl. Fentanyl is a prescription medication. We tend to forget that because we're hearing so much about it in the news causing overdose death, but it is a legitimate prescription, and it's used for sedative purposes to sedate a patient, or for pain control for people that have chronic pain. They might have a pain patch. So you can see that the list of medications up there, many of them you might have had before. And then examples of illicit opioids, heroin is the one that kind of comes to mind. So many times when people are misusing these prescription drugs, it many times does lead to heroin use because of how the addictive process works in the brain. We, without getting into too much detail, it becomes not enough, right? The prescription drug that they've gotten, or maybe they can't get enough of it, becomes not enough to fulfill that need for the reaction in the brain that they've been so used to, and it grows. So our brain tricks us into thinking we need more and more and more. So then many times people turn to heroin use. So fentanyl came into the picture many years ago, but it's really ramped up more recently. And a lot of the prescription drugs that we see on the street, the DEA tells us that half of whatever they confiscate has fentanyl in it. And we'll see in another slide how small of an amount it takes to kill someone. The Mexican drug cartel, and some manufacturers from China, but the Mexican drug cartel, they don't care if they kill you. They don't care if they kill your kids. So one of the reasons I'm here to talk to you today, many of you are parents, many of you are grandparents, you need to talk to your kids and stop having this attitude that if you bring it up, it's going to put ideas in their head. The ideas are already there about sensitive subjects like suicide, drug use. The thoughts are already there, and you need to be the bigger voice in their head. And so that's why I'm here to talk to you about this today. So I'm not sure why we have that. Okay, so the next class of medication are stimulants, and those are medications used to treat ADHD, narcolepsy, or weight loss. Very effective and very necessary medications for many, many people. So medications like Adderall. One of the things that we know, though, is that stimulants are one of the largest drug classifications that are misused by very young people. So they're sharing their medication. One of the ways that parents can help keep that from happening is don't let them have unfettered access to their medication, right? We want to teach them responsibility. This isn't the time to do it. You don't just give them their medicine and say, hey, don't forget to take your medicine or whatever. No, you hand it to them. You count that medication. Make sure that you're securing it, that they don't have full access and their friends don't have full access to it. So examples of illicit stimulant use would be cocaine. And if we think that cocaine is a drug of choice of the past, it is not. I just had some kids I was talking to in 10th grade not too long ago, and they were telling me how crack cocaine, they knew more about crack cocaine, its availability, and what it is than I did. Also methamphetamine, which is a lot of what we see in our community. We have, of course, we're talking about smaller numbers, so the percentages can seem very exaggerated, but Clinton County has a 1,500% higher overdose rate or overamping rate for stimulants, psychostimulants, than the rest of the state of Iowa. So a very high concentration, okay, that we're trying to kind of get control of, I guess you could say, or reduce. So of course, amphetamines, prescription amphetamines and ecstasy, or I'm talking about illegal amphetamines. So ones that have been manufactured elsewhere other than outside of a pharmaceutical manufacturer. Any questions so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Why is that methamphetamine so high in Clinton? What's the purpose? What's the cause of that?
It's not just Clinton,
Okay.
but the overdose rate, we're not quite sure why there's so much more overamping. But methamphetamine use it's just an epidemic across this country. So many times, again, that started with illicit or a prescription drug misuse. So I'm going to be getting into here why we're trying to limit some of that availability. We used to have doctors that were just handing out pills, right? Opioids, stimulants, what you need. You need a benzo, and they're just write prescriptions. And we've gotten a really good handle on that in Clinton County. But we don't really know why the overdose rate is so high. Now we need to keep in mind when it's a methamphetamine or amphetamine type overdose, it is not an overdose. It's called overamping, which means their heart rate goes really high. Their breathing is, everything is just goes. And it can cause them to have, of course, a heart attack, stroke, and things like that. Now, we're going to be talking in a little bit about the role of naloxone, Narcan, in our fight against overdose death here. It doesn't work for methamphetamines. So why do we tell people if they suspect that their friend is dying of an overdose of methamphetamine, why are we telling them to use naloxone? Because very rarely does it not have fentanyl in it, which is an opioid. Or very rarely are they not using another substance like heroin, like oxycodone or something like that. They're polysubstance use. They're using many different substances. And many times those opioids are what causes the death, causes the stopping breathing. Okay. So we want to get their breath back to them. And naloxone can do that. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So the next classifications of, yes, Dennis?
Carolyn, I remember being told in the early 90s that methamphetamine was likely to have a disproportionate bad effect on rural areas. Is that proven to be the case?
It has, because it's very cheap. And you notice we used to see a lot of manufacturing in our area, in most areas. This is a meth house, that's a meth house. Well, we don't see so much of that anymore because Mexican drug cartel, they stepped up and they filled that void, and they now produce it and sell it cheap enough. And they're, lacing it with just the right amount of fentanyl to get everybody hooked even more. So people aren't putting themselves in danger as much. It's not that it doesn't happen. It's not happening as much. And so by making that more available and more addictive, we have set people up, and cheaper. We have set people up that are of a lower socioeconomic standard or stanchion in life, setting them up for even more trouble, right? Because it's not like it used to be back in the 80s when the rich kids were doing cocaine and they're, at their parents' pool. It's not like that. Everyone is in, this could happen to anyone. It could happen to anyone's child, anyone's grandchild. And I would bet that there's someone in this room whose life has been somewhat destroyed by someone else's or their own drug use, because it's so prevalent. We have so many people in our community that are raising their grandchildren. They're raising their great-grandchildren because of drug use. So the next classification of medications that are highly addictive are benzodiazepines. These are medications that people take quite regularly, like Xanax, clonazepam, and this is to help reduce panic attacks or anxiety. One of the problems is this was not meant to be a medication that's a daily use medication. It's for situational anxiety, panic attacks and things. Also, sometimes it's used for muscle spasms and to reduce seizures. But the problem comes in is when we do have a very high rate of people in Clinton County that are on benzodiazepines. And I'm hearing from new providers coming in the area. The one thing that got me was when I came here, how many people are on benzos? I can't believe it. It just seems to be a regular thing. So those medications, again, very necessary, very effective when used as prescribed, but they are also highly addictive. And I've witnessed somebody that was trying to go off of benzodiazepines on their own. It's something that has to be done very methodically, nothing like they thought it was even 15 or 20 years ago. There's such a better process now for helping people to remove these substances from their everyday existence, because it can, there's some studies that are out now that show that they think it's showing a link between chronic benzo use and dementia. And if you know someone that uses these on a regular basis and they're using high doses of it, you would understand that they are not functioning as themselves, right? They have a slurring of their words, or they can't follow a conversation, things like that. It can be very disruptive and destructive. So again, all controlled substances have the potential to be addictive. It's not a personality flaw. Are some people doing it thinking they're going to get high? Of course. But do they think they're going to be living on the street and lose every single thing the first time that they decide they're going to take that medication differently? Or they're at a party and they smoked some pot, so their inhibitions are down a little bit, and now someone offers them another substance and it's meth, and all of a sudden that's all they can think about every single day when they wake up, was that first time that they ever tried meth. There was never anything like it, and there never will be again until they get it again, and then they need more and need more. So the data in our community tells us that the kids are telling us, not only is it easy for them to get their hands on prescription medication not meant for them, they're getting that from you. They're getting it from their parents, their grandparents, their friends' grandparents. They come over there and, they're hanging out with their really cool grandma. Well, really cool grandma's got some oxy in her cabinet that she hasn't used or whatever, and she's not going to notice that 4 or 5 are gone. And pretty soon they're in the hands of people that they don't need to be in. So the second, in the blue box there, Clinton County has the 5th, or it did when we got this grant. We'll talk about the how things are improving here in a little bit. Clinton County had the 5th highest concurrent prescribing rate for opioids and benzos at the same time in the state of Iowa. Why is that a problem? They are both depressants. So they both depress your respiratory system and put you at and your heart rate and everything, put you at a much higher risk for death, for overdose death, if you're doing those together. So one of the strategies that we're going to talk about here, first of all, that first strategy to kind of combat the availability in the homes is what I'm doing today, coming and talking to parents and grandparents, caregivers, giving them some information on how to monitor, secure, and dispose of your medications. The second strategy with we're talking to prescribers. I'm going in and I'm talking to where my goal is to, yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, absolutely.
Why do you think Clinton County is so high comparative to others?
So we had, years ago, we had some bad players that were giving out a lot of medication. This is not unusual around the country. Okay, we've got these kind of statistics in different communities. It seems like it's in pockets of communities. And patients here, one of the things that our assessment told us is that patients pressure their doctors like you wouldn't believe. They are on them and on them and on them. I had a benzo. My sister gave me her Xanax. It took all of my panic away. I want that. I want you to give that to me. And they wouldn't stop. And if that doctor didn't give it to them, then they'd go see somebody else that was maybe a little less, little easier to intimidate. So there's a lot of that going on. That is something that our assessment did show us. So in that blue box, we're focusing on prescribers. The good news is a lot of our prescribers now are very well educated. They've either been there, done that, and saw the opioid epidemic in this country start in the mid-90s and sweep through the nation, where we were burying so many people due to overdose. Or they're the new young people that are coming in. They may not get a lot of education about this about prescription drug misuse, but they know it because they've lived it, they've seen it, they've been alive during this time. And once they recognize the relationship between prescription medication and illicit drug use, they get it and they don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to be that clinic drug dealer, right? So then the third thing is our youth, our kids are telling us not only is it easy to get a hold of, they don't think it's a big deal to take it. So they get a hold of grandma's oxy that she has or her medication for her back pain, and they don't see it as a big deal. They'll go to a farm party, PHARM, and everybody brings a bottle of pills and dumps it in a basket, shake them all up, and they just start taking them. They have a low perception of harm, and we are changing. We're working with kids, so we're addressing that with youth and young adults to try to change that perception. We're teaching them not just say no. Kids are smarter than that. We need to teach them about their brain development. They get that. Your brain is not fully developed. You are incapable of making mature, and I know, Andy, you fall in this category too, to make mature decisions. It's really difficult, but no. I'm just joking. But no, you know, we know now that, you know, the frontal lobe of our brain is not fully developed until about the age of 25. And some studies are showing, especially in males, that it's a little bit closer to 30. And so impulsivity is what we're talking to the kids about. So that means that you need some other ways to hold yourself and your friends accountable. So when someone is making that impulsive decision, help to reel them back in if you're not feeling it, if you're not right there in the same situation, right? So we're trying to bring them into some prevention things as well. Because getting them involved, having them say it to other people, it makes a big impression on themselves also. So hopefully we're getting the word out. So strategy one, focus population, you, parents and caregivers. We're handing out, okay, so it says we're handing out copies of the SAMHSA overdose prevention and response toolkit, but about a year and a half ago, they redesigned this thing and made it so thick and so, I believe, overly complicated that I don't hand that out. I don't hand the whole thing out. First of all, my grant, they want us to hand it out, but they don't give us any money to do it. So I have what was the previous, I'm gonna grab this real quick here. The previous copy was like a one-pager on what are, this is mostly about opioids, but you know, think of this in the context of any controlled substance and what you can do to recognize a potential overdose, what you can do to prevent it. And then if someone is in the middle of an overdose, what you can do to help save their life. We're working a lot on that. And for you in this room, we want to make sure you're going to see these ads, these, you see that colored one on the right there. You're going to see that a lot on social media. I've had some billboards in town. We want you to monitor your medication. So keep track of medication and take only as directed. Know how much you should have on hand and how much you do have on hand, so that it kind of gets a thought in your head. If you have a spouse who's on hospice and they have, you know, they bring in a lot of controlled substances, obviously at that point, and they keep a pretty close eye on it, but you need to as well. Because your nephew who came to visit his dying uncle, you may not know that this was what he was looking for, is maybe that little syringe of morphine or whatever that you need to help keep your loved one comfortable. So securing your medications, keeping your medications out of sight in a safe, secure location. Think of them as a loaded gun, because for someone, that's exactly what it could be. And then disposing of your medication. So you're going to see us starting to push now. We have the DEA drop-off at the Sheriff's Department on April 26th. I've got some kids that are gonna be making some social media posts to encourage their parents and grandparents to clean out their medication and get it dropped off. But also our pharmacies are great in this area. We have drop-off bins at Walgreens North, Wagner, Hy-Vee, Walmart, Scott Drug out in DeWitt. We've got, I think, the Comanche DeWitt police departments as well as Clinton. Everybody will take your unused medication. When my dad passed away, he had a pharmacy in there. I couldn't believe it because he was a veteran, and they would send him all these medications even though he'd been off of them for 6 months. They're still sending them to him. I'm like, Dad, you got to tell him. He's like, I've told him. They just keep sending them. So if you have a parent that has a lot of medication in their home, please help them to get rid of that. And people are very hesitant. No, no, no. You never know when I might need that. Okay, well, then you can get more. If you need that, you can get more if the doctor says you should have more. So the second strategy, again, is academic detailing. So what is academic detailing? It is when I am going into a doctor's office, talking to them about their prescribing habits, right? And encouraging them to use best practices when prescribing. So using a non-opioid treatment first. Don't make that the first option. Review the prescription monitoring program, where that's a statewide and also a multi-statewide. We can log on to Minnesota, all of our bordering states, I think, right now, to see if somebody has gotten that prescription somewhere else. If they're doctor shopping is what we're looking for. We want them to start low and go slow. So start with the lowest dose you think is going to be effective for the pain or whatever it is that you're trying to treat. And if that isn't enough for the patient, go really slow when you're stepping up. And then prescribing naloxone. So naloxone, I want to talk about real quick. This is the reversal agent, and I have some here available today. So if anybody has an opioid prescription and you haven't yet been given a prescription for naloxone by your doctor, I can give you naloxone for free. So naloxone, again, is the reversal agent it's an opioid antagonist. So it will help reverse if somebody is in the middle of an overdose of an opioid. Again, we encourage someone, if you don't think it's an opioid, try it anyway. It's not going to hurt them. And it might be that they're taking another medication or another drug that has an opioid in it, and we want to give them a chance. So each one of these little packets here come with 2 doses, and all you have to do, I'm just going to quickly give instruction, is of course you try to wake the person up. You shout just like you would before you give CPR. Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Or shake them, tap them. Many times people are very just nodded off, right? So you want to try to get their attention. But if you give them this medication, it's not going to hurt them. What it will do, it'll bring them immediately into withdrawal, okay? Because you're reversing that effect of the opioid. So you would put this in the nostril just up until your fingers touch their nose, and you administer 1 spray. You do not prime it. You don't have to do anything. You just administer 1 spray. I encourage people, because I'm also a CPR instructor, immediately start at least hands-only CPR, push hard and fast in the center of the chest. If you've been trained in high-quality CPR, do CPR. And then, first you're going to call 911 before you do any of this, right? Put your phone on speaker mode, and they'll help walk you through it. They'll help the timing of it. So you can do CPR if you know how, or they'll walk you through that until it's time to do that next dose, which is about 3 minutes in, 3 to 4 minutes. And hopefully, here in Clinton, we have a good response time from our EMTs, and hopefully you'll have EMTs available by then. Yes?
Use the same nostril for the second.
It doesn't matter. We want to make it as simple. It really doesn't matter. I would probably switch over, and I don't know why. There's no, I haven't seen any studies that say that you should do it one way or the other. It can be used on a small child. So if you're a grandparent and you have an opioid in your house, you should have this on hand, because what if that little great grandchild of yours got a hold of your opioid? You can use this on a child. Any questions about that? Trying to get through it. I'm sorry. I know I'm on a time crunch here. So the third strategy is to work with our kids, again, teaching them about their brain development and its relationship to potential addiction. And these are the kind of the campaigns that we're using, letting them know prescription drugs are still drugs, and don't take anything not prescribed to you by a licensed physician. So I have here just a picture. I don't know why I didn't include it in my slides, but the pills that are being manufactured by Mexico are really good imitators. You can't tell the difference. The DEA many times can't tell the difference until they get that under a microscope and they take a look at it. And so one pill is all it takes to kill your grandkid or, you know, someone that you love. And we need to make sure, because right now the biggest drug pusher is social media. They can get on Snapchat and find anything. They can find mushrooms, they can find weed, they can find, and by the way, some of the weed has been laced with fentanyl as well. They can find tons of stuff. So they're not, it's not like they're have to go to the seedy part of the neighborhood or the city to find drugs anymore. They can get it anywhere.
Wall Street has had some articles of what you just said, like the lower cost drugs, apparently they're stuffing them with fentanyl to increase the probability of sales.
Yeah, it makes them much more addictive. So this is another picture of that. And this is the amount of fentanyl it takes to kill someone. Fits on the tip of a pencil. So if you're going to trust that those lovely people that are illicit drug manufacturers to get it right, that they're putting the right amount of fentanyl in there, just enough to get you really high, but not enough to kill you. I've seen some videos on how they actually do it, and it's scary. You know, they have the pill press and they have no clue how much is going into each pill. Whereas pills that are manufactured, of course, by a pharmaceutical manufacturer, everything is very precise. It's very regulated. And you don't have that with, of course, your drug cartel. So fentanyl, again, I won't go into a lot about it. It's a powerful synthetic opioid. There were some videos going around a few years ago that showed that if an officer had touched it and they went into like a seizure-like activity or whatever, that is not true. It does not get absorbed. It doesn't work that way. Does that mean it isn't dangerous? No, but you're not going to die if you touch fentanyl. But many times people are given a fentanyl patch for pain. It's very common for people with very chronic pain. So if you're helping that person, make sure you're wearing gloves. Don't take that patch off, and make sure that you're putting that patch safely, disposing of it safely, how you've been instructed to do so by your pharmacy. It doesn't necessarily have to go into a sharps container because it's not sharp, right? It's not a needle or anything, but it would be a safe place, I guess, to put it. So that concludes my slideshow. What questions came up during my speed talk? Yes.
I was with the Gateway Impact Coalition and Kristen Housengate. How closely do you work with her? Because a lot of it.
She's my boss.
Okay.
Okay, so.
But that was a Gateway in.
Yeah, so let me just explain. Clinton Substance Abuse Council is kind of a, you're here. I've met with you in your office before. Yeah. It's kind of the umbrella. It takes me a minute. Okay. It's kind of the umbrella. It's not a forward-facing coalition or anything. And under that, we have Gateway Impact Coalition, Comanche Wave Coalition, Crush. So we all are working under either state or federal grants, and it kind of depends. It's very complicated. But as well as ASAC, who we're not affiliated with, but we partner with them a lot because we want to make sure we're not duplicating efforts, but that we're like right now we're doing an assessment. What prevention messaging are the kids getting at what grade levels? And where can we help fill in those gaps? Because we're recognizing some pretty big gaps. So they're not getting it, they should be getting it. And most of the teachers are telling us that there's something, I touch on something from middle school on. My grant focuses on ages 12 to 25. We're figuring out that we need to be talking to kids as young as 5th grade about these things, especially because we took a recent survey, just a kind of an informal survey recently of our kids. And 6th graders are telling us, what do you think is the substance that they're using or misusing the most? Is it vapes, which is really bad? Vapes, weed, alcohol, prescription drugs. What do you think is the top thing that they're misusing? We're talking kids in middle school up through high school. It is prescription drugs. They are misusing their own. They are misusing someone else's in the house. Now, do we know if the kids really understand that? Like, are they saying, okay, maybe I took somebody, maybe mom give me ibuprofen more often than I was supposed to get it or something. We don't know what their thinking is exactly. But what we do know is that many times mom has a prescription for that knee pain that she had like a year and a half ago, and now that kid sprained her ankle and she's sharing it. And she's giving him a message. It's not a big deal to take a prescription drug like you would, like we used to with aspirin. Someone that I love took their opioid medication. She thought it was like an aspirin. She was older, and she was having some breakthrough pain, and she just didn't work the first time. She was going to take some more, and I just happened to walk in, and she was cyanide. She had blue lips and lack of oxygen. Her respiration rate was only, I couldn't even, it was so low, I was starting to panic a little bit, didn't even count it. It's like 3 or 4 a minute. So I called an ambulance for some help breathing.
So just a suggestion, you mentioned you got like 3 or 4 different names going on,
Yes,
and even that, and
it's confusing to me.
it's confused, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
Can you get it under one name? And so it doesn't matter if it's Comanche, DeWitt, Clinton, if you're in this county, it's this instead of these different names, because that's what as I was listening to your presentation, it's like, boy, this sure sounds like Gateway Impact.
because I've been there and I go to those meetings and.
Right, and I've been in a lot of those meetings, so, but then you see Clinton substance. So I'm gonna be honest, it seems like when you use different names, it seems like there's different organizations trying to do the same thing.
You're exactly right. Singing my song. If I had an answer for you, I'd give it to you.
Well,
But I have said, in fact, just addressed it last week.
tell Kristen, let's get one.
And, I've mentioned it to different board members because it is, some are the city, some are the county. Like Gateway Impact Coalition is the city. Misuse Coalition, obviously, mentioned DeWitt. My grant is a whole countywide grant, but I fall under substance abuse. It's so confusing. Yes.
Carolyn, in 41 of the 50 states in America, the deaths due to overdose peaked in 2023 or sooner. What was happening that maybe, what happened to trigger this? It's good news, it's positive news.
What's
that
great
overdose
news, yeah.
has dropped.
In the last year, just in the last year, we've seen a 24% reduction in death rate for overdose. And they believe, the CDC believes, what they put out is that, first of all, the availability of naloxone. And by the way, our community, we still have overdoses, but we're seeing a lot less death because of it, because now we're flooding the area with naloxone. We want to give someone that one more chance. Okay, they may have messed up their entire life, but we want them alive one more day, 10 more times, whatever it takes to try to get them, to keep them alive. And so the CDC is saying the availability of naloxone, education, prevention, as well as a change in the thought process for prescribers, right? Not being so willing to hand out significant amounts. I mean, because seriously, it used to be with opioids, they could get 100, 120 at a time, but they didn't use them anyway. And they were handing out a lot of them. But the education, we're learning more and more about how this epidemic got started and what we need to do about it. And so all of this education is some things, yeah.
You mentioned the messaging to the kids. I remember when I was in school, there was a DARE program.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of a similar kind of thing that you're trying to replicate, or is DARE still around? Or?
So DARE's still around in some communities, but the data is showing us it wasn't very effective. It was kind of along the lines of just say no and just don't do drugs, so we're, by approaching it with some different evidence-based like curriculums in the school, or coming in and giving presentations and having those one-on-one conversations that don't scare them. I mean, yeah, we want to show them the reality, especially with fake pills and that. But what we find with kids is the scaring just kind of ramps them up, it doesn't, sometimes it's just like they don't listen, they don't hear it. But when you're talking to them, I talked with a group of kids, some high-risk kids, a few times. I did it for a whole day in the classrooms, the different classes. And the teacher told me that it was the most engaged they've been with any person presenting because I didn't do this. I didn't stand up there with PowerPoint presentation. I talked to them one-on-one, and when they decided to veer off and talk about weed instead, I followed them and talked about weed. You know, they're trying to convince me that it's not a drug, and so we talked about that. And so then, you know, we start talking about vaping. My grant only pays for me to talk about prescription drugs, but they're not there in the classroom, and they're, you know, we want to talk to the kids about what they're seeing, hearing, feeling, what really reaches them, because I'm asking them as well. I ask them, when I talk to them at parent-teacher conferences, what is it that, if I came in and talked to you in the classroom, what kinds of things do you want me to talk about? Don't just stand up there and lecture us, is a big thing. I also ask them, what do you wish you could say to your parents? Write on a sticky note, don't put your name on it. What is the one thing that you wish you could say? And I always tell them, let's not get too prescriptive and deep here, because I won't be able to provide counseling for you. But if you just want to tell your parents, I want to talk to you more, or I love it when you come to my games. And one kid told me, or said on the note, you have no idea every time you go to jail how much it destroys our family. Things like that. And so what I do with those is I put them on a poster board, so when I'm doing presentations for parents and grandparents, they're seeing what their kids are telling us. Because it's very heartfelt. Yes.
One of the things, I had a brother who had knee surgery, and he had some, I think it was oxycodone or whatever it was, in his medicine cabinet, and he was having an open house. And I know we have a couple of realtors in here, and when they were done with the open house, he went in and they've taken it. I think one of the things, if they are, that's another way of people getting rid of, they bring kids with them, or the adults say, hey, hide whatever you don't want. Mary, I don't know if we do that or not, but that way he was shocked, you know.
Well, one of the things that I'm working on is trying to get funding. I haven't been able to get funding yet, because of course my grant isn't paying for any of this kind of stuff. It's just some lock bags like this. It just has a simple key. So you don't have to lock up all your medication, but the controlled substances should go in a bag like this, or a lockbox. If you have a little, like we have one for our guns, you know, just a small for handguns, and we keep those always locked, especially because we have kids in the house. And so this is something simple.
That would be something that a company could do.
Yeah. So like before it was Wagner that helped to fund this. It was Wagner Pharmacy. They don't have any money for it right now, but and the Clinton Police Department. But you know, everybody's funding chips, and so I've been having trouble with that. We're gonna I think Kristen is writing a grant right now to see if maybe I can use some funds from a grant to help pay for that. Because what I would like to see is that anyone who gets a new controlled substance prescription gets one of these from the pharmacy. And between that and your doctor handing you a folder saying, this medication, if you can overdose on this medication, you can become addicted to this medication. I want you to take it seriously. We want doctors to have that, you know, eye contact and that conversation with the patients and really reinforce. There's a reason why I'm not going to keep handing you this Xanax, or I'm not going to keep giving you this oxy, because I don't want you to be.
Then you also have the pharmaceutical sales reps that are out, and they get paid on a commission basis, so they're pushing it to go in.
Most of what they're pushing is not controlled substances.
Okay.
So it's blood thinners, heart medication, diabetes medication, things like that. But did it used to be that way? Okay.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
thank you for what you've done. And as I mentioned at the last Substance Abuse Council meeting, it still bugs me that 39% more people died in America in the last 5 years because of alcohol than died because of drugs. And, you know, I wish that there were more focus on alcohol and what it does to contribute.
Well, you know, we do have a grant. That's what her grant is working on as
So.
well. Especially now that we see the relationship between cancer and any alcohol use increases your risk for cancer. All you have to do is just put a simple search in on your computer and get those statistics. But yes, we are addressing that, and that is a very big problem in our area. amongst adults is the largest because we have a lot of work to do. It's a total shift of mind change because when all celebrations revolve around alcohol consumption and availability, it's a very tough game, but we're in it and working on it, you know? Yes.
Is the city doing anything, let's say, God forbid, somebody's caught up in addiction? Do any of these three nonprofits help with not just prevention, but kind of, if it's AA or some kind of 12-month program?
So one of the great things we have in our community is our DARE officers. So if they get a call, or if EMTs get a call for someone that's overdosed, that DARE, we have someone on the DARE team that goes, and they're gonna help someone. If they're interested in getting treatment right now, they're gonna take them. If they can't take them, they're gonna find somebody who can. We have, yes.
And something that the Victory Center has launched is a 9-month program. Right, it's new.
Is it outpatient, inpatient?
It's inpatient.
Okay.
But also we have help, also we can help people outpatient. But that would be structured. I mean, I've been sober for 20 years, December 5th, 2004. So I know for me, it was more just an education. It was like, okay, now that I want to change my life, how do I surround myself with like-minded people? And I don't know how many other places in town besides the Victory Center that offers a program, a 9-month in-house program.
I don't
so
know
maybe there's
any.
some way that we can kind of, so the people that are helping that community, they know about the solution.
Absolutely, and I've been to the Victory Center to give a presentation just not too long ago to your residents there. And so typically what we do is we refer someone to ASAC in this area. We also connect them with peer support, so the Rediscover Recovery Center and like connections. But there's other treatment options. We like to get them connected with, but we don't do treatment, so we just do prevention. But we do have those connections. So if somebody calls our office looking for that, we're able to kind of help. But yes, we do. We need to talk. Has that started already?
Yeah, just last week.
Okay, I would like to. I'm going to give you. We have my card there. It was on that paper. I'd really like to set up a meeting with you so that we can get people connected in the right way. And my boss, Kristen, also would probably be very interested. Yeah. Yep. And we are making progress, right? Because we are seeing a reduction in death, and that is the main focus, is to keep our people alive, right?
You just have done that, so. Good, I got everybody engaged. Good questions.
Good. I'm just gonna pull this thing out. And I'm sorry I took up so much of your time here. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. And if anybody, like I said, if anybody wants naloxone today, Narcan, let me know. There's little brochures here, helpful suggestions for talking to your kids about prescription drugs and some other stuff. So just see me afterwards and I'll hook you up.
Thank you, Carolyn, for your presentation and for the work you do in our community. As our members know, we give a book each week to the Clinton Public Library on behalf of our speaker. This week's book is As Brave as You, so we'll have our speaker sign that. Thank you to Andy for invocation, Dennis for fellowship, Julie for programs this month, and then Susie for tech, everything. And this year's theme is the magic of Rotary. I got crap for a whole year for not ringing the bell.
Thank you, good job.
Hey, Kate said there's some sort of sidewalk chalk event this afternoon.
I don't know about that.
Oh, can you steal me a piece of chalk if they do? Or have Kendra steal me a piece of chalk? Are you focused? Like, am I interrupting?